Okay, I think we're all good to go. Welcome everyone officially to the 2024 Annual General Meeting for the Tasmanian Hemp Association. In recognition of the deep history and culture of this island, we would like to acknowledge the Palawa people of Lutruwita, the traditional owners of the land upon which we gather. We acknowledge and pay respects to all Tasmanian Aboriginal communities who have survived invasion and dispossession and continue to maintain their identity and culture. Just very quickly to you all, I'd like to do a quick introduction of myself, the current board members and our executive officer. My name is Andy Lucas. I've been serving as the president of the Tasmanian Hemp Association for the last 2 years. Our Vice President, Morgan Leith, is currently on a plane to go fly fishing in New Zealand, so he is an absentee but has handed over a proxy. We've also got our Treasurer, Arbi Gupta, who's sitting here just at the end of the table, and our Secretary, Tim Crowe, should have joined us via Zoom. Hopefully he's on that link there as well. One of our other board members, Andreas McMahon, he's a General Committee member. He's also currently in the Northern Hemisphere. I think he's in Lapland, having a very fabulous trip. A very well-deserved holiday from one of the hardest working people that I've ever met. Chris Bales, who is one of our General Committee members and a farmer, he is also on a plane. I love how these boys have all planned this for the AGM. They promised me it wasn't deliberate, to go and do some sort of amazing motocross event in Western Australia. So that leaves Blair Jepson, our General Committee member, who's here in the room with us today as well. Just moving forward, we're going to do this as quickly as humanly possible. I had a personal best last year of 47 minutes, so we'll see if we can beat that. The ordinary business, the business for our AGM is as follows: to confirm the minutes of the last preceding annual general meeting and of any general meetings held since that meeting, to receive the committee, auditor and servants of the association reports on the transactions of the association during the last preceding financial year of the association, to elect the members, to elect the officers of the association and the ordinary committee members, to appoint the auditor and determine his or her remuneration, one of my favourite words, to determine the remuneration of servants of the association. The floor will be open to discussion at the conclusion of the AGM. If you are joining us via Zoom, please put your questions into the chat and they will be read out by us so that they can be recorded as well. To quickly go through apologies, we acknowledge the attendance. Actually, I can't see him in the room, so he may be not here unless he's online. We did have an RSVP from the Honourable Michael Gaffney. Fantastic, thank you. Welcome, Michael, independent member of the Tasmanian Legislative Council. Caroline Atkinson, Senior Advisor from the Office of the Honourable Jane Howlett, Minister for Primary Industries and Water. We have senior representatives from the Department of Natural Resources and Environment, which I will thus forth call NRE, Sarah Campbell, who's in the room with us, and Joe Hall, who has joined us via Zoom. We have with us in person Matthew Rowland and Tim Lovell, who are representatives from Independent Tasmanian Senator Tammy Tyrell's office as well. So welcome to all. I had mentioned the apologies from 3 of our current elected board members, as I said, Morgan Leith, Andreas McMahon and Chris Bales, and we do have proxies in hand from them. We also have our long-time corporate member and industry legend, Clara Marasecki, who was unable to make this particular meeting, and she has, where are we here? She has also given a proxy. And we've just had former President Tim Schmidt has just entered the room as well. Okay, so we're moving now on to the acceptance of the minutes from the previous annual general meeting. I'll put forward that the minutes from the 2023 annual general meeting be accepted. If someone wants to move that. Thank you, Arby.
I did read them, but I noticed I wasn't there.
Oh, really? Blair's picked up on it. So we just need to amend on the attendance list for the Zoom. Okay, thanks, Blair. We'll make a correction there. So just for the record, we had an absentee name on the actual list of people who attended that meeting, and we will correct that. Other than that small correction, did anyone else pick up anything that needed addressing in the minutes? No? If someone could second that. Thank you, Penny, and that is passed. We will now welcome Executive Officer Tors Graham, who will present the Executive Officer's report.
I'd like to thank everyone who's here and those who are here on Zoom, and acknowledge all our association members. As I think we are all painfully aware, there's an acute urgency to promote renewables and eco-friendly products like industrial hemp. So I applaud you all for your time and focus on this. I must give a special thanks to our President, Andy Lucas, Andy is the busiest person I have ever known, and yet is extremely generous with her time and knowledge. Her dedication and professionalism are a massive asset to this industry. I'm grateful for her advice and her unfailing ability to always bring a good laugh to work. What a wonderful and rare skill that is. I'd like to begin properly by mentioning our membership and contacts. As of this month, the THA has 1,439 contacts on our database, and 1,229 of those contacts receive our newsletters. We have 60 supporter members, 6 associate members, 20 corporate members, including board members, and there are 69 hemp licence holders who are registered with the NRE. I'm happy to say we're in direct contact with over 90% of licence holders in Tassie. The THA also has 4 honorary lifetime members: Jeanette Reeder, Phil Warner, Lisa Estrich and Tim Schmidt. Basically, we could not operate without the generosity and help of the state government. They have recognised the importance of this industry and provided a series of modest grants over the last 6 years. We believe we have conscientiously squeezed every last drop of potential juice out of that money, and we're extremely grateful that the government shares our vision for the future of hemp. For as long as hemp exists as an emerging industry and does not yet receive levies, we will remain dependent on government support and on our members. So we've spent some time over the past year streamlining our systems to make the membership process easier, and now non-voting supporter members can sign up immediately online for $99 a year. There's also been an enormous push to engage businesses who've perhaps been unaware of the potential synergies and opportunities between their established sectors and industrial hemp. As I mentioned, our corporate membership ranks have now swelled to 20 businesses, and they include commercial construction companies like Hanson Yuncken and Tas City Building, industry heavyweights like Norske Skog, machinery manufacturers Alvin Blanche, the extracts facility Hale Farm, local restaurants like Burger Junkie, and the University of Tasmania. And I'd like to give a special thanks to UTAS Chief Sustainability Officer Corey Peterson for his tireless work. A special shout out also needs to go to New Norfolk Distillery, who support us as a corporate member, and they also supply us with the notoriously delicious and potentially dangerous Jovian Wilderness Hemp Gin, which you actually all have to try. It's divine. We continue to enjoy the support of those actively working in hemp, including Midland Seed, who have been part of THA since our association formed in 2010. And we are also indebted to Hemp Harvests, who have been operating here in Tassie since 2016. And we've recently welcomed Elixinor Wellness as new owners of a host of food brands that included existing corporate member Ananda Food, Australian Primary Hemp and Hemp Foods Australia. Now I'd just like to talk quickly about our events and networking. There's a keen interest amongst architects, builders, planners and homeowners to learn more about building with hemp. So the THA teams up with the Australian Hemp Masonry Company to provide practical demonstrations on how to achieve these beautiful walls. These workshops are held a few times a year in Tasmania and are often sold out. There was one planned for tomorrow, but storm damage means it's had to be cancelled. At the conclusion of these activities, Andy usually holds a hemp happy hour and factory tour, showcasing hemp gin, hemp beer and hemp rum. You might be detecting an underlying theme there. Enormous effort was put into planning and promoting 2 consecutive field days. This is where we really get our message out to the public. On a Friday in February, we held the IHVT, which is Industrial Hemp Variety Trial, Field Day and Student Education Day all in one. And the next day, which is a Saturday, we have the Community Education Day to capture those who are only available on the weekend. Because both Meta platforms, Facebook and Instagram, cancel anything that says hemp or any picture of hemp, we can't do any advertising on Facebook, which is really crippling, actually. And some booking platforms for our ticketing have algorithms that keep cancelling our events, so very frustrating. but we did have success in the end with try booking. So to counter those roadblocks, 3,700 individual invitations were sent to prospective guests via direct messages. Also, posters and postcards were printed and displayed in the windows of 19 coffee shops in and around Launceston and the area. So despite the frustrations, the field days were a huge success. Student Day drew over 79 Year 9 to 12 students and their teachers from public and private schools around the area. The event was held at Epping Forest on the site of the industrial hemp variety trials, so the students could actually see the hemp growing and touch all the displays and eat a hemp burger, etc. AgriFutures contributed educational show bags and secured a news crew from Win News. The students enjoyed burgers and soft drinks, and we were very lucky to have Minister Palmer attend, as did many stakeholders, agronomists and business owners. Community Education Day was the public day, a bit more relaxed. It was also well attended, with free buses put on from Burnie, Hobart and Launceston for ticket holders or members. This was an opportunity for the public to hear from speakers, see videos, touch displays, network with builders, growers and manufacturers. Execution of these events would again have been impossible without the help of Andy, her ex-Hemp employees and THA board members. As far as media coverage went this year, Andy appeared as a guest speaker in 6 interviews on well-known radio stations, all different stations, and the board members Tim Crow and Andy Lucas appeared on TV, both on ABC's Landline and on ABC News. In February, Andy met with Professor Anthony Burke from Grand Designs Australia for pick-up footage of an upcoming episode on building with hemp. So have a look out for that in October. THA has enjoyed news coverage by The Examiner, and many of our notifications and events have been shared online by others, including Minister Joe Palmer and Premier Jeremy Rockcliffe. News items as they arise are posted as blogs on the THA website, which also features event information and frequently asked questions. Newsletters update our contacts on all things hemp and have links to these events and to blogs. On social media, we have 1,500 followers on Facebook, 546 on LinkedIn, 903 on Instagram, and 60 on X or Twitter, and that's all trending up from last year. And finally, I'd like to mention our Eat Tassie Hemp campaign. There's a star over there of one of the TV ads sitting in our midst. So that was a campaign that was carried out on TV and on Instagram. And I give huge credit for this campaign that was nearly entirely thanks to one of our board members, Tim Crow, working alongside contractor and marketing guru Ashley Foster. They're both to be congratulated on this campaign. Under their guidance, the THA produced a number of 15-second TV ads to showcase hemp food being consumed in a fun family atmosphere. And while these ads only went to air for a short window in Tassie and regional Victoria, they were viewed over 260,000 times. In addition to that, Tim and Ash engaged with numerous chefs and influencers to produce high quality and engaging content for the social media part of the campaign, mainly Instagram. This content has been viewed over 350,000 times, with that number continuing to rise as we keep sharing it on Facebook. It's been a very positive year and we're determined to keep up the good work. Thanks, everybody.
We will now welcome our Treasurer, Arbi Gupta, to give a quick report. Thanks, Arbi.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Arbi Gupta, presenting the Treasurer's Report for the financial year 2023 and 2024. I would like to inform you that the audited financial statements are in the final stages of preparation and will be available on our website within the next few weeks. While the THA is not legally required under Tasmania Incorporated Association law to provide professionally audited financials, we have chosen to mandate this step within our own constitution. Our board remains firmly committed to transparency, accountability, and strong governance, and will continue this practice in the years ahead to protect their members' interest. As reported by TORS, it has been a fantastic year for Tasmanian Hemp Association, marked by several significant achievements. The third year of the Nation Industrial Hemp Variety Trials that the THAS project managed was harvested around March. The results are being prepared for release. We are close to acquiring the final third of the $300,000 grant, which was from Department of NRE. We are hopeful that this trial will yield valuable insights for the growth of the industry. From a financial standpoint, the major highlight of the year was a success in securing $100,000 Strategic Industry Partnership Program grant from the Department of Natural Resources and Environment, Tasmania. This grant has significantly strengthened the operational capacity of our association, allowing us to better support our members and advocate for the future of the hemp industry in Tasmania. Thanks to the efforts of our Executive Officer, TORS, and our volunteer members, our membership base continues to grow steadily. The most noticeable increase has been with so many new corporate members joining and supporting the association. This broadening support is a testament to the growing interest and belief in the potential of the hemp industry. In conclusion, I would like to thank all members for their ongoing support and commitment to the association. With your continued involvement and opportunities ahead, we are confident that Tasmanian Hemp Association will continue to thrive and play a pivotal role in the development of the hemp industry in our state. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arby. Just as a little crossing of a T from the constitutional perspective, as per section 30 in our constitution, we just need to quickly confirm the annual subscriptions, fees and levies, confirming that they are set at the annual general meeting, but we're not actually proposing any changes to those this year. So non-voting supporter members continue to pay $99 a year. Voting associate members and active licence holders pay $199 a year, and our corporate members are paying $499 a year. Our board is not proposing any changes to the remuneration of our part-time executive officer at this time, although she is grossly underpaid. If we had more money, we certainly would, but no changes to that at the moment either. Moving on to agenda item 6, appointment of an auditor. We are working with a fantastic fellow senior auditor, Lee Zhang at Cameron's, who's doing an excellent job doing the audit for FY24 and who will be working with us for FY25. So we're very happy with Lee Zhang at Cameron's, and our intention is to continue on working with him. I forgot to write down the fee. I'm supposed to mention the fee. I believe it was $1,600 is the fee. So that's great. If someone could actually, that's one of those formal ones that needs to be moved and seconded. If the appointment of the auditor, someone could move that. Moved by Arby Gupta and seconded by Conrad Chung. Thanks, Conrad. Okay. Now the President's report. Being aware that we have several folks attending our meeting today who are new to the hemp industry, including a couple of our incoming board members, I'm going to go over the events of the past year in roughly chronological order, with a little bit of layperson context thrown in for those who don't work in hemp. So hopefully this will all make sense while being an accurate historical record. While this report remains necessarily high level to protect our time, it does cover a lot, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions or give more details at the end of the AGM or outside of this meeting. A huge amount has happened since our last AGM 12 months ago, both good and challenging. In September 2023, the state of the hemp industry in Tasmania could best be described as in a complete state of flux. In preparation for what we knew was going to be a bumpy year ahead and to have consistency for the folks we represent, all 7 volunteer board members who had served in the previous 12 months stood for our roles for another term. This decision meant that our association retained expertise and knowledge spanning all facets of hemp, from farming, processing, manufacturing, building and marketing, and we retained our General Committee members Andreas McMahon, Chris Bales and Tim Crow. I was re-elected as President, Morgan Leith as Vice President, Arby Gupta as Treasurer and Tim Schmidt as Secretary, and our state's chosen nominee to represent Tasmanian interests at the national level via the Australian Hemp Council. In the previous season, Tassie had experienced a near total collapse of the size of the planting area of crops for the food market, going from the high of around 1,400 hectares under cultivation 3 seasons earlier to less than 40 hectares in the most recent summer harvest. This was due to a huge range of factors, including bumper crops in previous seasons, which meant that there was still seed stored locally, a flood of cheap imports from China and Canada, rising input costs affecting profit margins across the board, increases in the value of other commodities, meaning that hemp had to compete for the same land use. My favourite, major supermarkets not choosing Aussie-grown products over imports, which makes me pretty twitchy-eyed, and some issues locally with payments, with not having on-time payments to our farmers. So we had a series of challenges there. All of those were compounded by the worsening economy and the cost of living crisis, but the main problem is the ongoing battle of trying to build markets and increase consumer awareness while being constrained by the stigma around the use of the plant species with the botanical name cannabis. Ignorance around the difference between the zero drug value, low THC hemp that has been used by humans for thousands of years for food and fibre, compared with high THC marijuana, which is used for medical and recreational purposes, remains our number one constraint. Apart from necessitating, say that 5 times fast, additional licensing due to laws that continue to confuse the two, business operators within our sector face the very real impacts of not being able to freely advertise their completely legal food and fibre products on the meta platforms of Facebook and Instagram, while also facing restrictions on Google. It's really hard to run a business if you can't tell people what you do. At the time of our last AGM, our association, as Arby mentioned, was in the final stage of project managing the 3-year national hemp variety trials at Epping Forest. And on behalf of our board and membership for the final 2 years, I was working closely alongside Pinion Advisory Services and liaising actively with NRE and AgriFutures to acquit the final third of the $300,000 grant that had been awarded to support that activity. I do want to have special thanks here to Hilton Henning and Jason Lynch from Pinion, Alyssa Nightingale and Sarah Campbell from NRE, and Mark Skews, who I think is perhaps the hardest working man in Australia, working for AgriFutures. All of these folks have done a huge amount of work on what was a very tough project. In addition to managing the disbursement of those funds, at the end of 2023, the THA was also close to fulfilling our obligations and acquitting a $100,000 grant, which was awarded under this excellent project title, Health and Wellbeing Benefits of Sustainable Tasmanian Hemp National Consumer Awareness Campaign, and take a breath, a project that we decided to call Eat Tassie Hemp, because it seemed a lot easier just to describe it that way, and which Tors has obviously spoken about. It was a huge success. In October 2023, my private company and proud corporate member, Hemp, completed its first ever crowdsource funding campaign via the platform Birchal, raising over $1.5 million and welcoming over 900 new shareholders. Hemp now employs 8 women in Tasmania and is contracted to supply locally grown and processed materials to what will be the largest use of hempcrete in the country in the amazing UTAS forestry building project that was designed by Woods Bagot and is being built by Hanson Yuncken and Hannon Build. The reason I mention that, not just because Hemp's a cool thing to talk about, and obviously my great passion outside of this, but Hemp would not exist if Clara Marasecki, founder of our long-time corporate member, the Australian Hemp Masonry Company, hadn't approached the THA with this concept in 2019. And if we didn't have a paid staff member, we would have struggled to do the necessary work to create the business case in 2020. This example is a real demonstration of the measurable impact that having a well-run and funded state peak industry group can have. In November of 2023, it was a really busy year. The THA was awarded another state government grant, the second that we have received under the Strategic Industry Partnership Program known as SIP. As with the grant received under that same program in 2021, part of this funding covered our EO wage, which allows us to respond to inquiries and to continue to improve all internal processes and governance in a way that can't be done within an entirely volunteer-run organisation. The second round of SIP funding also allowed us to leverage the best aspects of the Eat Tassie Hemp campaign and repeat the promotion on social media platforms with new recipes, chefs and posts. It provided some funds to hold the Community Education Day in February of this year and to reserve some cash for a repeat of that much-loved event on the first Saturday of March next year. With all of this exciting work going on in the background, in the final months of last year, our board began discussions around the nature of our involvement with the Australian Hemp Council. For those who aren't aware, and for clarity, the THA was one of the founding states of the maximum 7-member national group, which is based on the federation model of each state association sending their elective representative to sit on the council. While most associations have chosen to send their president, then Secretary Tim Schmidt requested to remain in the role as our nominated representative at our AGMs in 2022 and 2023, a request to which our board agreed. The two key areas of inquiry surrounded the perception of governance issues and how our members' interests were being represented at the national level. This matter was discussed over a series of meetings as an agenda item on the first of our regular quarterly sessions held in November, and then as the sole topic on the agenda of special general meetings called specifically to address our concerns in December and January. In that third meeting, it was determined that while our board was still in full support of the concept of the Federation national model and felt there was potential benefit to maintaining our membership, we believed that a change of representation was required. A motion was passed in a unanimous decision to elect a new nominee to speak for our state on the AHC, with Tim Crowe receiving full board support to take on the role of representing Tasmanian interests on the council. At that time, outgoing AHC representative Tim Schmidt made the decision to resign from his role as secretary on our board. As per the rules in section 23 of our constitution, which covers the process of what needs to happen when a board member voluntarily resigns from their position, our committee appointed one of the founding members of our association, then General Manager at Midland Seeds, now happily retired, Blair Jepson, to fill that vacancy. And we're all very grateful to you, Blair, for stepping into that role. In April 2024, both Blair and I attended the 4th Biennial Australian Industrial Hemp Conference, which was founded by Robert Bell and hosted this year in the Hunter Valley in New South Wales. I made the journey north, both as a returning speaker for the AIHC and as an invited attendee at the full-day strategy session for the Australian Hemp Council, which had been scheduled prior to the official conference program commencing, and then with plans to tour a local facility on the final Friday, which made for a very busy week. The day-long AHC strategy session on Monday the 15th of April had many positive elements, with a group of around a dozen of us participating in that meeting. While our state representative, Tim Crowe, wasn't able to get to that one in person, he and a small handful of reps from other states did attempt to connect via Zoom so they could contribute to these important proceedings. Unfortunately, there were some technical issues that prevented these folks from actively participating, which is a real shame because they could have added great value. One notable event from that session was that at the opening of the meeting, Tim Schmidt announced his resignation from the internally determined role of president of the AHC and informed the group present that he would not participate in that strategy planning day. The remaining attendees were then told by facilitator Matt Lariba that a new 4-person management committee had appointed themselves to handle operations in advance of the council's next AGM. The management committee was made up of AHC Executive Officer Bernard Thompson, South Australian Representative Mick Anderson, Queensland Representative Lockie Grout, both of whom are presidents of their respective state groups, and a committee member from the newly rebranded Victorian Hemp Association, Matt Lariba. While several of us present shared and expressed concerns that the process to take the action of forming the management committee had lacked transparency, some nominated representatives on the council had not been involved in that decision. The outcome had the full support of the THA as it recognised that an indication that the AHC had recognised the need to move towards better governance and transparency, which we are in full support of. In the week post-event, we were notified that Tim Schmidt had withdrawn his resignation and had decided to stay on in the self-appointed non-voting role of President of the Council. As of today, our board is still waiting for the provision of documents requested in June to clarify the exact nature of how the AHC is governed so we can better understand the benefits to our members and to the industry as a whole. We are also very eager to see the final results of the strategic plan from the day-long meeting, which was held nearly 5 months ago. Even with all of these internal challenges and the resultant confusion, I appreciated the opportunity to sit in a room during that strategy meeting. It's always good to engage with a variety of stakeholders who are working in various ways towards the shared goal of progressing the hemp industry in Australia, even if we don't always agree on the best method. Our entire elected 7-person board remains in strong support of the concept of a single, well-run national peak industry body so we can effectively lobby the federal government with one voice. While we currently intend to continue to play our role in achieving that goal via membership of the AHC, our ongoing participation will be determined by the action of the Council, with our primary focus remaining the protection of our members' interests. Another aspect that has kept several of our board very busy over the past year has been our increasingly active engagement with NRE and the Minister's Office. This was partially spurred by the formal review of the Industrial Hemp Act 2015, with the view of passing the Industrial Hemp Amendment Bill. And the groundwork for these conversations has been laid thanks to the work of every volunteer board member who has served the THA over the past 14 years. On behalf of our members, we took this opportunity to lobby hard to get amendments made that we believe will make doing business easier, requesting what we perceive to be a number of very common sense changes. We discovered that making changes to legislation is a very complicated thing. We're operating within a challenging framework where the cannabis plant is mentioned in 3 state laws, the Misuse of Drugs Act, the Poisons Act and the Industrial Hemp Act, and we also have to consider federal and international laws and conventions in the mix. You can find full details of what these lobbying efforts involved and our official response to the changes on our website or on request. I do want to mention that while we didn't get what we wanted from a legislative opportunity, we now have a level of engagement with policy and lawmakers that simply has not existed in the past. I want to acknowledge former Minister for Primary Industries Jo Palmer as a huge supporter of our association during her years in that role, regularly attending our events and lobbying on our behalf federally. And after multiple meetings with new Primary Industries Minister Jane Howlett and her staff, we are confident we will see a continuation of that interest and support from the current Liberal government. THA activities have also been notably supported by Speaker of the House Michelle O'Byrne, Liberal Senator Bridget Archer, Labor Senators Anne Urquhart and Brian Mitchell. Labor member for Bass Janie Finlay has been particularly vocal in her support of our industry, presenting a reading in the Houses of Parliament during the debate of the recent bill, which was amazing, and Greens Senator Peter Whish-Wilson remains a strong ally on the national stage. Minister Howlett's senior advisor, Caroline Atkinson, has been an active voice for hemp for many years now, and we welcomed the interest of her colleague Chris Gatenby during a recent meeting at the Minister's Office. We also now enjoy much improved and direct relationships with NRE, thanks to Departmental Officers Jo Hall and Sarah Campbell, both of whom have done a huge amount of work during this process while showing a genuine interest in helping us move our industry forward. I can't tell you how incredibly powerful that is. And I think I've cried on the phone to both of you at different points through the year as well. On the back of this momentum, and with a clear view of some of the challenges that lie ahead, on Monday the 5th of August this year, we held a special meeting, another one, to begin the process of drafting our 3-year strategic plan. We were incredibly lucky to have independent chair Jo Archer presiding, a highly skilled and experienced director with a long and successful history working in consumer and social services, tourism, media and non-profit organisations. There's nothing Jo Archer hasn't done. This session was well attended by our board, who overwhelmingly gave positive feedback on how much value we got from the time spent that day. We're all so busy, and it was an incredibly productive meeting. That was all thanks to Jo's presence, guiding us and keeping us on track. It was a game changer, and we're very grateful to her for volunteering her valuable time to help us undertake this hard and necessary work. There might have been a bottle of hemp gin in there for her, I'm not saying there wasn't. The meeting reviewed responses to a survey and discussed factors impeding growth to industry. And within days of the meeting, the first draft of the strategic plan had been written. Special thanks for pushing this meeting to proceed, even as each board member battled a series of difficult life events. It was a really tough year for lots of us this year. Goes to our hardworking EO tours, with gratitude to one of our supporter members, Melinda, who volunteered her time as a minute taker. So really it takes a village. A few weeks ago, the THA submitted our association's 3rd application under the SIP grant program with the title Bolstering Operational Capacity to Support Achievement of Net Zero Carbon Targets. We think that might be our best one yet. We'll find a 3-worder to describe it, of course. If successful, these funds will be used to expand the executive offer role from a part-time hire to make the position a full-time equivalent, with the added bonus of bringing in a new person with some additional skills and mitigating key person risk. It should be noted here that the THA is the only hemp state association that has a paid staff member. And that is thanks to the efforts of Daniel Caddart and Tim Schmidt, who in their respective roles of Treasurer and President wrote the very first grant seeking funds to support the position back in 2018. If we receive this next round of funding, we will be able to administer the nation's first pilot horticultural mulch trial. It's a fun one to say. We will engage local professional services to complete our strategic plan, and we will be able to work directly with the construction sector to clarify hemp building standards and reduce red tape. And we know that housing is a critical issue right now, so this is a really good thing too. As Tors mentioned, we will be able to repeat our wonderful Student Education Day, which sees students from years 9 to 12 from public and private schools from around the state. We've got full support from the Department of Education. As the daughter of a teacher, that makes me very proud. And we give them a fully immersive experience in everything to do with hemp, so whatever their area of interest might lie. We will also be able to continue to promote the Eat Tassie Hemp campaign so that we can keep building markets in that sector. And while we haven't heard yet on whether we have been awarded this grant, we are remaining cautiously optimistic that we will continue to receive state government support for our efforts building the hemp industry in Tasmania. As we look ahead, we're getting very close to the end. As we look ahead, I'm very happy to report that the planting area planned for the upcoming season looks to be at several hundred hectares, with Hemp Harvests, Alexinol and Midlands all back in the game. This is great news for everyone, including the significant number of licence holders who will be growing crops for the first time in over 2 years, and companies like Tas Seed Dressing, where Arby Gupta and Morgan Leith both work, and my private business, Hemp, all of whom benefit directly from these plants going in the ground. The work the THA does has been proven to increase community education around the many products made with hemp, and if we are funded, we'll be able to continue to take direct action to build markets and actively engage with other established industries. This means more money will go into the hands of our farmers, more jobs will be created in rural and regional areas, more healthy food that is grown and processed locally will go into Aussie pantry cupboards, more energy efficient and environmentally friendly homes will be built, and many, many more tonnes of carbon will be captured. It doesn't really get any better than that. None of this work would have been possible without the financial contributions we've received from the state government and from all of our paying members. So on behalf of our board, I thank you again for the support. And now I'm so excited to welcome to the microphone in his final performance before retirement, Blair Jepson. Who's very kindly, to save my voice, is just going to do some of the boring constitutional read-throughs so we can get these motions passed. Thanks, Blair.
Thanks, Andy. This is just basically some bookkeeping stuff. Since Tim and the association, when we were together, put together our constitution, there's obviously been a few changes. So these are all the proposed resolution changes to our constitution. They're all in there. But the first one is pretty essential because we've got to change the address, seeing as the TFGA hasn't been at that spot for a good couple of years now. So just, we thought we were doing the right thing when we put it together. So we would need to, it's been proposed, so someone want to move the change of address? Andy, I've got a pen.
That's fine. Well,
We've got it.
Recorded. Yeah, that's
So that's fine. What's the next one? To amend section 5 so it does not conflict with section 24, with the final rule being 2 members are required to sign. Yeah, so we'll move that. Yep. Penny. I'll just reiterate that we thought we were doing a pretty good job when we started all this. Wasn't it, Tim? It took us a long time. Section 24, the election of numbers of the committee.
I think that's just a continuation of the same one.
Oh, is it? Rightio.
Down to the banking one now, Blair.
Okay, so we've done that. Banking and finance. So initially we just had a cheque. Now we're just changing it to any type of money transfer. So anyone want to say yes? Move that, Conrad. What are we up to? Notices of general meetings. Yeah, well, back in the day, it was always required as part of the constitution that it had to go in the local newspaper. It's a bit of a joke because not many people read the newspaper anymore. So we'll just change that to however we're going to change it to.
It's going to be on the website, social media and via email.
Yeah, so as much as we can we'll spread the word as much as we can.
Yep.
So anyone for that one? Arby? The next two obviously didn't really exist back when we put this together.
These are brand new.
To do with the Australian Tax Office. Something to do with a not-for-profit clause, to do with if we fold or something. Anyone want to move that one?
Yep.
Andy? And what's this? Dissolution clause.
Same sort of concept, really.
Same deal. So really we're just keeping the tax office happy. Anyone want to say yes? Yeah, Arby again? So yeah, that's it. Like I say, we did it as per rules back then.
That's it.
Things have changed. So thank you.
Lovely. Just before Blair runs away, you're going to love this. So Blair was a founding member of our association in 2000.
Well, I wasn't on the original committee.
Oh, here we go. He's also my stickler. What am I going to do without him? He has retired from his role in the Midlands seat as the General Manager, and we would like to award you with a lifetime membership.
Oh,
Lucky
thank you.
number 5. Quite seriously, just because I have to tell this funny story, you were the first person that I remember meeting in the Tasmanian hemp industry in February of 2019.
Doesn't sound good.
And I can remember thinking, who's that grumpy old guy at the back? And 5 years later, I'm now just as grumpy as you. Yeah. So no, Blair has been an enormous supporter of lots of us in the industry, but for me particularly, a massive source of information and a huge supporter of Hemp. So thank you so much, Blair.
No, thank you very much. I've probably been involved in the hemp industry for longer than most people here. Maybe Conrad's been around for a bit longer. But yeah, thank you very much. It's been fun. It's a fun ride.
We almost believe him when he says that, don't we?
Thank you.
Just really quickly, talking about resignation. So Blair is stepping down from his nominated role, as is Tim Crow. Tim Crow's been a board member for almost long enough to get an amazing trophy. He's going to have to come back like Blair did, do a bit of a John Farnham and do like an extra final stint to get his little award. But seriously, Tim Crow has brought an enormous amount of value and has been in a volunteer capacity for about 6 years and has been of huge value to the association. And I just also wanted to acknowledge the resignation of the Victorian president of the Hemp Association, Lynn Stevenson, who was also instrumental in the creation of the Tasmanian Hemp Association back in 2010. So we've got folks who have been really doing a lot of the heavy lifting with this volunteer work over a long, long time in pretty hostile trading environments. So thank you so much to Blair Jepson, Tim Crow and Lynn Stevenson for all of your contributions over these years. Now I get to pass on to Conrad Chung. This is my favourite part of the annual general meeting. Conrad Chung suffers through this for me every year. It's fantastic. We're just going to go through the nominations for elected board positions. Just as a reminder, all elected board positions for the THA are in a voluntary capacity, and 5 of our 7 board members are standing for positions again this year. We are warmly welcoming 4 highly skilled and generally excellent new committee members to fill both executive and general committee positions, which will take our board to 9 and much more evenly spread the workload. So when Conrad comes and reads the nominations for each position, if you're in favour of the nominee being accepted, please raise your hand or type yay into the Zoom chat box. Generally these are uncontested, but obviously if it's a majority vote, the person is accepted. Thank you, Conrad.
Thanks, Andy. As the interim chairperson, I will now declare all positions open, and we shall have the election of the office bearers and committee members. So we'll start with the big one first.
It's alphabetical, Conrad.
Not now. So we'll have the nomination for president. I have here a nomination for Andy Lucas. Are there any other nominations? No? Okay. So Andy, you accept the nomination?
I certainly do, thank you, Conrad.
You are now the president.
Thank you. Use this election to win your leadership and run alone.
The next position that we have open is the secretary. I have a nomination for Ian Whitehouse. Does Ian accept the nomination?
on Zoom.
Ian sent a thumbs up.
Yes, righto, okay. Is there any other nominations for secretary? No.
Just to note that he also serves as our representative on the AHC, so that
Right.
secretary position serves both of those jobs.
Okay. So, Ian is now the secretary of the THA. The next position is treasurer. We have a nomination here for Jessie Liao. Do you accept the nomination? Yes. Is there any other nominations for the position of treasurer? No? Okay. So that means, Jessie, you are now the treasurer for the THA. We now have nominations for the committee members. We have a nomination here for Abhi Gupta, and Abhi, do you accept your nomination?
Yep.
Yep. So, yeah, so you accept the position committee, that's good. We have another nomination for Andreas McMahon. Andreas
That's my
McMahon.
handwriting,
Yes,
so
I was trying to read.
I apologise, I can't write.
Does Andre accept his nomination?
Andreas is in Lapland, but
So I
he's given
guess-
me his proxy.
Yep.
I accept his nomination.
Okay. So Andreas is now a member of the committee. Chris Bales, well, we know he's not here.
He's not, he's also given me a written proxy.
Thank you, Andy. So Chris is now also a member of the committee. And we have nomination here for Kyle Townsend. And Kyle, do you accept nomination? Yeah. Yes? Okay, so you are now a committee member. We have a nomination here for Morgan Leith. And, oh, sorry, that position is for Vice President. I misread that one. So, does Morgan accept the nomination for Vice President? And do we have any other nominations for Vice President? No? Okay, Morgan is now the Vice President of the committee. And finally, we have a nomination for Penny Dominy. Does Penny accept nomination? You do. And any other nominations? No? So, Penny, you are on the committee. So that completes the nominations and appointments. So I will now hand back to Andy.
Thank you, Conrad. Okay, I don't know if it's personal best, but it must be pretty close, I reckon. So that the results of the general election, they'll obviously be in the minutes, but I have to read them because that's the rules. President Andy Lucas, Vice President Morgan Leith, Treasurer Jessie Liu, Secretary and AHC Representative Ian Whitehouse, General Committee members Andreas McMahon, Abhi Gupta, Chris Bales, Penny Dominy and Kyle Townsend. So welcome to everybody. The final agenda item are any questions for the Executive Officer or for the board members that are present. We've given instructions in the Zoom call for people to put those into the chat. Sam, was there anyone there that wanted to ask anything?
No questions as of yet.
Lovely.
I'll pick up if there are.
Thank you. Just opening up to the room. Yep.
I've just got a question on the third SIP grant application. What was the value of that?
We've just asked for a smidgen under $200,000, $194,728 or something like that. Yeah, off the top of my head. It seems frighteningly specific, but we are that in control now of things. We know exactly what we need, and that's what we needed, so that's what we've asked for. We have staggered it as 6 priorities in order of priority, and we're very hopeful that we'll get all of those. Any others? I'm really hoping that means that it's close to happy hour time, which is why we schedule these on Friday afternoons. Okay, if that's everything all done, just to let everybody know, the meeting has been recorded on Zoom, as is our process. The minutes will be transcribed and made publicly available, along with our audited financials, as we do every year. Thank you so much for attending, everybody. Thank you.